Hi, this is John Wittry. Welcome again to our living room one more time. It's really a privilege to have you here.
I'm Donna Wittry.
This is number 10 and actually the final video of this series. And in the 10 videos that we've been talking about that are posted on the website, we're really looking at how do you, in the context of optimal living, obviously, which is Entheos' theme, what are the top 10 big ideas in having a really fulfilling long-term relationship? And while we oftentimes come from the context of our marital relationship, the thing that we were just talking to Matt Cook about in preparation for this video was these concepts can actually apply, all of the concepts can apply across any relationship. So, if you aren't in a marriage, a traditional marriage, just think about all the partnerships you're in, all the relationships you're in, because these principles, kids, employees, employers, anybody, family members, these are fundamental concepts on how to have an effective relationship. And to be sure, Donna and I will come from the stance of marriage because that's our context and what we're in, but we don't want it to be limiting to you. And so very important. The video that we're going to talk about today, and it's funny because in preparing for this and writing up the notes for this, Donna and I both agree that it's our favorite, and it's one of the ones that have had the biggest impact for us. And we're going to talk about the importance of having and maintaining a unifying goal. And when you think about focus, so wherever you focus, you go. I'm a bicyclist, and so whether it's on the road or on the dirt, it's really important to focus where you want to go, not where you're afraid of going, because you're going to go where you're focusing. And so from that context, imagine that if your relationships had a unifying goal, that if each of you were committed to that end game, and kind of all the decisions of how you use your resources applied to that end game, it has a dramatic effect on your relationship, and it has the power to bring you together. Too many times in our coaching practice, we encounter people that are growing apart or have grown apart. And quite frankly, oftentimes there's a fundamental scenario where they have not established a unifying goal, and there's nothing to bring them together. They run out of things to talk about. There's nothing that really has them focusing on one thing. Not that they don't have other focuses in their lives, but is that one thing that they share in common. So today we're going to explore the top 10 big ideas on creating and maintaining a unifying goal.
So number one is to evaluate what your unifying goal or goals might be. So for those of you who have young children, oftentimes that is one of the biggest unifying goals that you'll have for probably, maybe 18 to 20 years of your life. You'll be working on that one unifying goal. Just trying to agree on how do you discipline the kids, where do you want to send them to school. You'll have lots of conversations that have to do with how to come to agreement about what to do on behalf of your children.
Yeah, raising productive members of society actually becomes the unifying goal. And those of you with young children, that's what you talk about. That's where you spend your time, and you spend a lot of money raising kids. And so this big idea is, what is your unifying goal? And one of the tools that we have our clients use is go into your checkbook or wherever you track your money, Quicken, whatever it might be, and go into your calendar and just look at where you spend your time and your money, because how you spend your time and your money will almost always reveal your priorities. And by looking at what your time and your money say your priorities are, you might uncover what is a unifying goal that already exists, something that you're already passionate about, something that you're already focused on together. But whatever the tool is, it's important to evaluate what the two of you that are in relationship can look at as a unifying goal to create that central point of focus. Looking at your calendar and your checkbook is a simple way to do that if you're managing those types of things together.
Yeah. So our number two is to create the time to discuss and agree on what your unifying goal is as a couple together. And a lot of times what is a good exercise is just to individually think about or even write down the things that you're currently passionate about. Do you have a big heart for homeless? Do you have a heart for animals? Do you have a heart for the environmental concerns that are all around us today, and just looking together at what individually do you feel super passionate about, and then is there something that's overlapping in those that you can agree to create a focus on.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of, so again, the name of this is Create Time to Discuss and Agree on a Unifying Goal. I'm always a big fan of creating time to have a deep conversation. So that's a solution to many, many problems in our world in general, but in relationship, which is what this conversation is about, you will learn more about your partner, the person that you're in relationship with, by really being in inquiry about what they're passionate about and really listening to understand, which is the topic of one of our other videos, if you'll remember, but really listen to understand what is driving that person? Who is this person? What are they motivated by? Listening to them, articulating from you what that might be. Because in that conversation, the idea or the goal is to come out with something that creates a common person. But you really have to first create the time to actually talk about that and reveal your heart. This is an opportunity to, I'll use the word vulnerable. This is the opportunity to be vulnerable with one another. But let's put some context even around that word of being vulnerable. This is really an opportunity for you to speak from your heart with an open heart about what it is that you want as an ultimate purpose.
Okay. So our number 3 is to create your ideal outcome for your unifying goal or goals. And so that is just to paint a visual picture of what you would like to accomplish with your unifying goal. I mean, if you're talking about children, one of my biggest goals for my kids was to have them be college graduates. That was just really important for me. I tried to emphasize that all through their educational life, from elementary school through junior high, through middle school, through high school, was to really focus on that was my goal for them, and I wanted them to be inspired by things that I could say to them that would inspire them to say, yeah, this is really important. I can see the importance of this in my life, and I really want this also. And so I created that as an accomplishment.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you have the conversation, you settle on a unifying goal, you grid an agreement. But this idea of painting a visual picture is really important. And in my office, I have this great big whiteboard. Because I do this exercise with we do this exercise together, but I do this exercise with my customers as well, where free form. I just say, tell me everything, like what's the ideal outcome? What can you imagine? What can you create as a possibility around this goal? And so I just free form, no structure, just write it all out. And then I go back and I edit it, because I go back and edit it and I start grouping like concepts from that exercise. So first you agree on what it is, and then you take the time to create the ideal outcome for that. It gives you a really nice visual picture that paints the end result. And then the other nice thing about having that in hard copy form, if you will, or written down, is that as you go through the year or years, you can keep going back to that same statement and course correct if it changes, because sometimes they do. But also you can evaluate, am I spending time and energy on that unifying goal, or have we gotten distracted? So that visual picture of your unifying goal is really helpful, really important.
Okay, so number 4 is to create an action plan for accomplishing your unifying goal.
So I'm going to talk about this one because this is probably more up my alley. I love to dream. I love creating possibility. But dreams and possibility and even this documented ideal outcome is all fine and good. But to be honest with you, it's just a good idea until it has an action plan associated with it. So when you create this ideal scene, this ideal outcome for what your unifying goal is, there is an exercise that has to be had that says, okay, great, what do we now have to do? Because if there's not action behind this goal, if there aren't clear daily actions that you're taking to achieve the unifying goal, then you're not going to accomplish anything. It's going to be a piece of paper. It was a neat trick that you did once upon a time, but your actions are going to bring those things to life. So this action plan, while it might be more of a businessy type of thing, which I have a tendency to gravitate towards, is really important, because it's very easy to get stuck in this trivial pursuit, and we're kind of passive about the actions that we take. But I want my actions to be tied to something. I want our actions to be tied to something. So in Donna's ideal scene of the kids being college graduates, there were actions that we had to take all along the way. We had to make sure that if the school that they were going to wasn't helping them achieve that goal, that we were, and that we were constantly talking about the benefits of a college graduation. So that action plan is really important. And there's just a thought that came to my mind that I want to share, because I'm not sure I'll remember to share it. I want you to understand that I didn't have the same passion around the kids having a college degree that Donna did. So in the beginning, she had this, I mean, she was blocked on it. I mean, it was a little pit bullish in the sense that she really wanted this. And so I chose to come into alignment with her passion around the kids having a college degree. And then I also then, over the course of time, this action plan, I had to commit to those actions to help that come to fruition. How to finance it, how to help them identify what school they wanted to go to, how to make sure that...
the road trip.
Yeah, we took a road trip, right? That was fun.
College road trip.
Took a road trip to explore all those. But the action plan to manifest this unifying goal is absolutely key.
All right, so our number 5 is leverage your unifying goal to create conversation. So, just being able to talk together and have conversation together about what your unifying goal is together is actually pretty fun, I think, because when you're in conversation with your person that you're creating your life together, you can really create and manifest things that you probably wouldn't be able to do on your own as you're in these conversations with each other.
The other thing is, I mean, it's so true, and then really leveraging this unifying goal. Again, a lot of these 10 top tips have come from the years of coaching that we've done with people in relationship. And one of the persistent complaints that people come up with is we don't have anything to talk about. We run out of things to talk about. And it's not an absolute, but almost always I can go back, and when people say that, my first question to them is, well, what's your unifying goal? And they'll look at me like deer in headlights and wonder, well, what are you talking about? And the way that we have leveraged our unifying goals, and we've had a number of them through the years, by the way.
They change, they morph, and sometimes they actually complete, and then we start a new one.
And so we've leveraged those because they always represent a conversation that we can have. And daily, we're talking about what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? How are you feeling about this? And one of our unifying goals right now is horseback riding. So we have 2 horses on our property. And what's been interesting about that, again, Donna's very passionate about horses. I'm new to the whole thing. But what's interesting is how much horseback riding is part of our conversation. Where do you want to ride? What was your experience on that ride? What are you noticing about your horse? What are you blah, 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 blah. But it's cool because we love horseback riding. But what's really cool is every day there's some conversation around the horses. So you can leverage your unifying goal to create and maintain conversation, which has been helpful for us, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And we could even tell you some of our other unifying goals through the years.
Yeah.
I mean,
so kids, we already mentioned.
We did
horses.
Kids, yeah. Sports. We opened a business together, which was, big unifying goal. We had to redo the whole interior, and we had to agree on a lot of things, and it was fun to focus on that for a long time. Yeah,
we had a hair salon when we lived in California. Donna was a hair cutter. House projects. So, right now, one of our unifying goals, we bought a nice piece of property, but the house is not so, needs some work. But so a unifying goal that we have is refurbishing the outside of this house. The inside is done real well, but the outside needs some help. And the nice thing about a unifying goal like that is, and we're in the middle of this today as we speak, is it really helps you have a conversation around where you spend your money. So we've stopped going out.
Or where you don't spend your money.
Yeah, where you don't spend your money. So, like, for example, and this is not a hardship, so I'm not presenting it that way, but we stopped going out to dinner. We realized we were spending so much money going out to dinner, and so with the unifying goal of fixing up the outside of this house, we want to channel that money into the house, not into some restaurant. Now, alongside of that, Donna has a personal unifying goal of being a cook. She's taken up cooking and she's become very proficient at it. She's studied it. So I'm part of that unifying goal because she's chosen to cook healthy. I mean, really healthy, really clean eating, and I'm living here too. So personally, I'd rather eat fig bars and maybe not and peanut butter sandwiches. But with this unifying goal of eating healthy and being vital, we're saving money, supporting our unifying goal of the house. We're improving our health. She's educating me about eating right, which has been really helpful to me. So you can see how the unifying goal has been a central point of focus, and we have multiple of them going at the same time, and we've had many over the years because your life goes in seasons. So that would be another interesting video to talk about the seasons of life.
Well, raising our kids is done, thank God.
Hey. All good things must come to an end.
That's right. They're happy and healthy.
And they're out of our house.
Okay, so number 6 is Dreaming My Dreams with You.
Yeah, that comes from a song from Alison Krauss, and this is really kind of ties in the top tips we've already given you in this video. But this is it's really fun to dream together. It's really fun to paint visions of what you want to create, and instead of just living life passively and taking it as it comes to you, you're dreaming together, and we're dreaming the dreams together. And quite frankly, and again, I'm sorry to belabor the horse scenario, but one of Donna's childhood dreams was having horses on her property, having them
on a ranch,
and having them graze in our backyard. Now, I never knew about this dream, so I didn't know about this dream until about 4 or 5 years ago. And as things started to develop and we started to get into conversations, all of a sudden I realized I could be part of helping Donna manifest one of her dreams. And I thought I was going to be part of it from a distance, like funding it. But because it became a unifying goal, it became a dream that manifested, and we were both participants in it. So one of the successes in our relationship is dreaming our dreams together. And so that comes from first really having some great conversations around what those dreams are. It's important to articulate what those things.
Yeah, and again, really the unifying goal we feel is just a really key way for your relationship to stay together, to stay in unity, to have, to have it be a long-lasting relationship. If you want it to be a lifetime relationship, having that unifying goal is really a key aspect to that.
Yeah, there's a quote that I've become very attached to from Robert Heinlein. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. And just so that I make sure that I get it right, I'm actually going to read it. In the absence of clearly defined goals, so in the absence of clearly defined goals, we become strangely loyal to performing daily acts of trivia. So in the absence of clearly defined goals, we become strangely loyal to performing daily acts of trivia. And we've all experienced this.
Yeah, it's like going to work in the morning, coming home, eating dinner, going to bed.
Watching TV.
It can get really rote day after day after day.
Yeah, and it becomes a very, very trivial way of living. But in this context of having a unifying goal, now you can have purposeful living. You can have a purposeful action plan directing and guiding your actions.
Well, and making plans for the future, which we also think is a really key, important goal to have if you're looking at a long-term relationship. It's really important to look at your future together.
Yeah. So number 7, so that's all leading up to number 7, evaluate, course correct, and recreate your unifying goal. So, this is, I guess the analogy that I'll use, it's not even an analogy, it's a reality. We've all set New Year's intentions, we've all set goals, and we've all gotten really, really excited about them in the moment. And then as time goes on, they wane. And that is difficult. I mean, it is difficult to keep goals alive, but one of the ways that we have been able to keep goals alive is to have purposeful time set aside to evaluate. Look, does it still make sense for us to have horses? Or look, where are we with raising the kids? Where are we with remodeling this house? Constantly evaluating the unifying goal. Is this still important to you? Like when we set it out, we thought it was important. Is this still true? There's nothing wrong with course correcting your goal. Nothing. None of these are written in stone. You don't have a crystal ball in your future. So setting aside time to evaluate those unifying goals, talking about them, course correcting, and in some cases erasing them and saying, hey, that was misdirected. We were really enthusiastic, but it's obvious we're not putting action towards that. So how much do we really want it? Look, I mean, here's a fundamental. If you're not taking actions to achieve your unifying goal, it's not that important to you. Because if it's really important to you, it's not going to be hard to take actions to achieving that. So slowing down, which isn't the easiest thing in the world for me to do, and really evaluating, are these still true? Is this still bringing us together? That's the other thing. If they're not bringing you together, then it's not a unifying goal. It's now an individual goal.
Yeah, and sometimes we do an exercise every kind of like transition into the new year. We'll look back and we'll kind of evaluate, well, so what were some of our greatest things that we loved about the last year? What are some of the misses? And what are the things you want to carry into the next year? And what are some of the things that you maybe want to just drop because you said, oh, I was super enthusiastic about going and, you know, working at the homeless shelter every Tuesday, and then I just kind of didn't do it after a while. So that's okay. So let's think about, you know, what's working, what's not working, and let's set a new course on the new year.
Yeah. The next tip is there's nothing too large or too small when it relates to a unifying goal. Our recommendation is just start someplace. Like just pick one. And so when we talk about raising kids, that's a large one. Like getting your kids out of your house and being productive members of society, that's a pretty big goal.
And that may be the only one you have time for a certain amount of years. I wouldn't beat yourself up if just raising your kids is about all you can manage for a certain period of time.
Yeah, and then there's really small ones. So for us, redoing the outside of our house isn't a big deal. We've done it before. We know how to make that happen. So too large, too small, doesn't matter. Just settle on a unifying goal. The next one that to bring forward is establishing routines that serve toward the completion of these goals. You hear Donna and I talk a lot about meeting together and reviewing these goals, and it's really important, and I'm going to use the word systems and infrastructure. It's really important to establish routines and habits around keeping these unifying goals alive. And for example, we have a client right now, a husband and a wife, and we're helping them do every Sunday night review of the coming weeks. So it's a habit and a routine where they slow their very busy, very powerful life down, and they look at 3 or 4 weeks out, and they talk about, okay, what do we need to be planning for? What are the actions that we need to be taking? And they even look back at last week and say, how did it go?
Yeah, they both pull out their calendars, so they're comparing notes, and so that they're, they both understand what the schedule is for each of them, and then they proceed forward from that point. Yeah,
so very important to have an infrastructure to help you, and many people come to us in a coaching relationship just to get that support too. So you can ask for help from people in helping you stay focused, stay accountable to that unifying goal. Go ahead.
So yeah,
the last one.
You want to do our lesson? So number 10, we suggest to people that they contribute to something larger than themselves. So unifying goals is something that you're doing together, and we often feel that the best way to create it, to play it forward, is to serve other people.
And this can't be stated too much. Anytime you're serving something that's larger than yourself, it will cause you to grow. Quite frankly, doing these videos, writing the notes for these videos, doing any of the marriage work that we do, doing any of the professional coaching that I do, because I'm serving something larger than myself, it causes me to grow. It stretches me. When you have a unifying goal in a relationship, it stretches the relationship. So you'd be surprised at how often Donna and I get into disagreements prior to doing something like this, because it's challenging you. It's challenging, for one, it challenges you. Are you guys, so the challenge we're constantly under is, are we actually living these tips that we're giving you? Are they really being reflected in our marriage? Are we really committed to them? And that creates some fierce conversations for us, but it's awesome. Those fierce conversations are fantastic because they cause us to grow.
Yeah, it helps you to work on your relationship together when you're focused on doing something together out there.
Yeah. So we have to bring this to a close. A couple things that I want to say. So homework for this one is take the time. Take the time to establish a unifying goal with the people that you're in relationship with or your partner. Really important, and work through these 10 tips together. And I guess as a wrap up, you know, if you watch these videos in sequence, all 10 videos in sequence, then well done. Like, that is you investing in you. That's you investing in your relationship, and we really want to congratulate you and thank you from the bottom of my heart. Donna and I feel like we have a mantle for reducing the divorce rate in this country. So we really feel like we've been asked to be a part of reducing the divorce rate. So that's our focus. But you can tell by these videos we're passionate about all types of relationship. And so you watching these videos is part of that. And I want to encourage you to watch them over and over again. I want to encourage you to practice the tips that we gave you. And then I also want to encourage you to look at all the rest of the Entheos website. I mean, the stuff that's on the Entheos website, if we would take time every day to digest even a little bit of it every day over a long course of time, our lives will be different. We will be transformed. We believe that by you guys watching these videos, your relationship will be transformed. Quite frankly, if we didn't believe that, we wouldn't have committed the time to make them. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We really want to encourage you. You can have an optimized, really successful, fantastic, over-the-top relationship. It takes practice, it takes consistency, but it is completely possible, and it's very, very rewarding.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much.